This is In the Loop. I'm Lauren Magarino, in for Christian Bryant. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. I cannot believe we're on the precipice of the holiday season, so I'm hyping myself up for some cooking prep today. Here's what we got for you. We've hit the mark that signals one of the busiest seasons of the year. Long lines at airports and stores. But like many things in 2020, things will look different this time around. There's still long lines, but it's where you'll run into them. That's unlike any other year. Then the countdown to Christmas is on. We're getting in the holiday spirit with Hallmark to find out why these movies with the same plot get us every single year. But first, here's what you need to know right now. Things are not getting better. The US set another record this week, 2 million new coronavirus cases in just 2 weeks. In total, 49 states are seeing an increase in cases. There's no uniform approach as local and state leaders renew shutdown measures. As a result, many restaurant workers are finding themselves out of work again. In big cities like Chicago and San Francisco, officials banned indoor dining altogether. Other cities chose to implement curfews, forcing restaurants and bars to close by a certain time. Many people in the restaurant and hospitality industry have used up or nearly used up their unemployment benefits for the year, which are capped at 39 weeks from the time someone first applies. About 20 million Americans are now receiving some form of unemployment benefits, but about half will lose those benefits when 2 federal programs expire at the end of the year. The president is planning several pardons before he leaves office. One of the names on his list, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Back in 2017, Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI during the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. He has avoided sentencing since his case is stuck in legal limbo. Earlier this year, the Justice Department tried to withdraw the charges, but a federal judge challenged the move. According to several sources, this is just one of several pardons the president is planning to make before he leaves office in January. Organizers of the Macys Thanksgiving Parade prepare for tomorrow's celebration, scaling back on the iconic event in order to make it as safe as possible during the pandemic. Gatherings of more than 10 people are banned in New York City due to a rise in COVID-19 cases. So, would-be attendees of the parade will have to watch on television. The streets of Manhattan will be empty, and the parade route will extend only 1 block instead of its regular 2 miles. Macys has reduced the number of people participating in the parade by 88%, which means no marching bands, fewer floats, and most human balloon handlers will be replaced by SUVs as anchors for the giant-sized balloons. But the event will still go on. In its 96 years of existence, the parade has only been canceled 3 times during World War II. I don't think I need to tell you why Black Friday will look different this year. The long lines for cheaper gadgets or carts of clothing aren't as likely to form, but that does not mean we won't see long lines altogether. As Patrick Terpstra reports, this season, Americans are lining up for more basic needs: food and health.
Early bird, get the worm.
Hattie Lambert arrived at a food bank in Washington, D.C. before the sun came up.
The line is completely around the corner.
A wait for hours this year to pick up Thanksgiving dinner supplies.
Things haven't been so good this year because of the corona, virus, and everybody is suffering with that.
Americans are used to long lines at the holidays, usually at the airport. This year of COVID, the lines are for more basic needs: health and food.
Central Union Mission here in Washington is among food pantries across the country seeing a surge in demand for meals this year.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving!
This year has been especially difficult. We've seen over a 50% increase in the number of people coming to us.
A bumper-to-bumper wait for food outside Boston. 1 in 10 families with small children nationwide does not have enough to eat.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Higher level of hunger than during the Great Recession.
A lot of those jobs that they have are in the service industry, and so those jobs have disappeared. And now they find themselves having to come to a food bank.
In many big cities, lines are also long to get a coronavirus test. Cars swarmed a drive-up site at Dodger Stadium in L.A. This line for a COVID swab in New York stretched for blocks.
I've been in line for about 4 hours.
For a negative test and peace of mind before joining family as cases of the coronavirus balloon.
I am flying home for the holidays. I think with the numbers rising, it's been a little challenging.
CDC warns testing negative is no silver bullet, advising against travel and big gatherings this year. Lines for COVID tests and food reveal the hardships and risks in 2020, and through it all, the goal of many families to still share Thanksgiving.
Hey, it still can be joyful.
In Washington, D.C., I'm Patrick Terpstra reporting.
A show I'm currently binging just broke a massive record. Stick with us. You'll want to check this out. A lot happening on Twitter today, so let's dig right in. Tributes pouring in on Twitter after news of Diego Maradona's death. The Argentinian soccer legend died of a heart attack just 2 weeks after having surgery on a clot in his brain. Maradona is one of the most decorated soccer players in history. He played in 4 World Cups. He was captain when Argentina won the 1986 World Cup, scoring the famous Hand of God goal. At the club level, he played for Barcelona and Napoli. He totaled more than 250 career goals. In a tweet, the Argentine Football Association said it expressed its deepest sorrow for the death of their legend. Maradona was just 60 years old. Meghan Markle is trending because of a New York Times op-ed she wrote, revealing a miscarriage she suffered back in July. Markle says her choice in opening up about it was to help her heal, writing, "Some have bravely shared their stories. They have opened the door, knowing that when one person speaks truth, it gives license for all of us to do the same." For a long time, the topic was almost considered taboo, but now it's becoming more and more common for women to share their experiences. Singer and songwriter Christina Perri and Chrissy Teigen also recently opened up about their losses on social media. A big check or checkmate for Netflix's newest series, Queen's Gambit.
Chess isn't always competitive. Chess can also be beautiful.
This week, the show became the most watched limited series on the streaming platform, getting 62 million views within 28 days of its release. Now, it's important to note, Netflix counts its viewers by those who watch the first 2 minutes of a series or film, so there's no guarantee everyone completely binged the 7-episode series, but millions at least started it. But that's not the only reason the show is trending. I guess it inspired people to pick up a new hobby. A quick search on Google Trends showed just how many people started looking into chess recently. That first spike you see happened on October 25th, just 2 days after the show came out. Sales of chess sets also jumped 87% in the last 3 weeks, according to the NPD Group, a market research company. I guess I'll need to check it out. TV and film can play a large role in getting us into the holiday spirit. Some opt for The Grinch, OG or Jim Carrey version. Others watch Home Alone or Die Hard and then debate on whether or not it's a holiday movie. For me, it's watching all of the Harry Potter movies. For some reason, it's a thing. But I would be remiss to not include the quintessential Hallmark holiday movie. Y'all know them, cheesy, identical storylines that we love. Why are we obsessed? Casey Mendoza explains.
On the 12th date of Christmas,
one royal holiday.
Christmas in Vienna.
It's that time of the year again. Christmas movie season. The holiday-focused genre entirely devoted to people finding love in their hometowns, saving small businesses from big city corporations, and most importantly, spreading the spirit of Christmas.
It's just something my mom and I bonded over. We spent a lot of time watching Christmas movies.
I started watching them with my family just to kind of poke fun at them, but I accidentally fell in love with them.
No other company revels in this genre better than Hallmark. The company releases 40 new Christmas movies every year for its Countdown to Christmas series.
Oh, it's finally Christmas! Okay, well, technically it's still fall, but...
Christmas is Hallmark's biggest present, with total viewership in the tens of millions, particularly women. Already, the network says it has seen 35 million viewers since October.
I love Christmas. I love it. I mean, I'm wearing a sweater in November. I'm ready to go.
So we have a Facebook group, we have a Discord, we have a Reddit, and we're continually engaging with way more people than we anticipated ever.
We found dozens of year-round blogs, podcasts, and fan groups about Hallmark and Christmas movies, from projects like Tis the Podcast, a show and online community about Christmas movies in general, The Hallremark, a one-woman recap and review blog, and Deck the Hallmark, a viral podcast that started an entire network of other entertainment shows.
If I can be honest, it was just a prank against Dan here, because I knew he'd hate him.
Yeah.
It's
a
few
prank
years.
that's lasted 3 years. and
It's a long prank.
Has become a full-time job.
I was genuinely shocked to find out that there were dozens of podcasts, other blogs, and it was really cool to meet other people who actually loved them, because I can't talk to my friends about these movies.
Both fans and critics of the genre do recognize that most of these titles have their flaws. They all recognize they can be a little over the top, repetitive, and very predictable.
Christmas. It's about traditions. This was ours.
We've all joked about creating a formulaic Hallmark Christmas movie script together, or setting up an AI robot, an AI machine to do the same thing.
But at the end of the day, these movies are also comforting to fans, a reminder of all the joy surrounding the holiday season.
I do give Hallmark movies a hard time, and we put them under a microscope they have no business being put under, because they are someone's comfort food.
Christmas has always been a way for me to relax, and these movies are so low stakes.
And so with dozens of new titles coming out every year, we asked, what makes an actually good Christmas movie?
We have something called the Linus test. And it goes back to a Charlie Brown Christmas, where Linus gets on stage and explains to everyone what Christmas is all about.
Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
So for us, what makes a good Christmas movie is if there is that change of heart at some point. It's where Linus could pop up in any of these movies or television specials or whatever and say, that's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown. That's what a good Christmas movie is. That's our definitive test.
Casey Mendoza, Newsy, Chicago.
Coming up, we head to South Dakota, a state hit hard by this third wave, and hear from a resident whose entire family, 4 generations, tested positive for COVID-19. Last week, the U.S. reported 1 million COVID cases in 7 days, according to the COVID Tracking Project. We are in the thick of a third wave, and it's hitting the plains incredibly hard, including South Dakota. It is one of the highest COVID rates per capita in the country. We hear from the mayor of Aberdeen, South Dakota, where the city council voted against a mask mandate, and a local resident whose entire family has had COVID.
South Dakota has one of the highest COVID rates per capita in the country. According to Johns Hopkins, the state reached a positive test rate of more than 58% earlier this month. That rate is now coming down. But to find out how locals are grappling with COVID, Newsy traveled to Aberdeen, South Dakota's third most populous city, where this week the city council voted against a mask mandate.
So we had 4 generations. Yep, my parents, me and my wife, Jane, and my daughter, and her daughter have all tested positive at different times and had different levels of sickness. Feel some chills, get cold when it's not cold in the room, and there's periods of time where I wanted to just sit like this. But the most startling thing for me was I feel like I'm a pretty creative person, and I was just a blank. I couldn't even perceive doing anything, and I didn't want to, and I didn't think I ever would again. I think we were all kind of shocked the first time we saw CNN where the country is all color-coded and then South Dakota was bright red. And then to hear news reports from other countries saying, what is the matter with the United States? And essentially then, what is the matter with South Dakota?
So South Dakota got a lot of bad press recently. We were known for a little bit as the highest rate of spread in the nation. I think that might have been true for a moment in time, but it's no longer the case. And I think that it served the purposes of some people that really wanted to cast that light on us to rebroadcast that image over and over. I think a lot of people were looking at this from kind of a hysteria perspective, and it caused us to do some things that, in hindsight were counterproductive. We forced some businesses to close, bars and restaurants and hairdressers. And we experienced a number of permanent closures as a result of that. And I think that that's clear and present evidence of kind of government overreach and what we want to avoid as we move forward. So several weeks ago, Aberdeen passed a mask resolution. We're strongly encouraging our citizens to wear masks in situations in which they can't socially distance. We were one of the first in the state to do it. So we've taken that component of things very seriously. I do not expect that the state is going to put any kind of a mask requirement into place, and I don't think that it's necessary.
I think masks did start out very political, and that's a shame because it stuck. It's frustrating to have people go against known science. Well, South Dakota, the wide open spaces ad is right. You can drive for hours and miles, and those folks out on those ranches and farms are very independent. So that independent line of thinking, I think, did get in the way of a lot of people trying to do their own thing and be independent and say, people aren't going to tell me what to do. But we have to gang up as a country and a world and explain the science and try to get them to understand. When they're on their 1,000-acre ranch, no, you probably don't have to wear a mask, but when you come in to get groceries or be in a close space, just put it on and protect each other.
We did a good job of spreading the curve out. Aberdeen has a surge hospital capacity of in the neighborhood of 200 hospital beds. The most that we've experienced through the surge of COVID-19 has been 43 or 44 COVID-related hospitalizations. That includes ICU and traditional hospital beds. I think that, you as a person have a responsibility for your personal health. You need to make the decisions that are good for your own health, that are good for your family, and then beyond that are good for the community.
Our hope is we'll get through this and there'll be a vaccine and we'll get back to normal. But meanwhile, I want to tell people, you do not want this. You don't want to lay around in a bed for 2-3 weeks. Do you want to be that sick? And do you want to have your mom and dad get sick and maybe die, or your kids and grandkids? I mean, it's everybody around you.
My heart goes out to the students, especially college students who are trying to springboard from education to the workforce during a global pandemic. But like all things, students are adapting, including those who secured an internship. Our Kat Sandoval checked in with a student who's interning online.
College senior Winnie Quach was offered an in-person summer internship at Boeing, but COVID-19 changed that.
It was switched to the virtual format pretty suddenly after the virus started getting really bad.
The Ohio State University student communicated with her mentor, manager, and fellow interns online. And instead of hands-on lab work, she handled technical paperwork and documentation virtually. Quach improved her technical writing skills, networked online, and
we got to do these virtual live tours as interns, and those were really fun because we couldn't be there in person.
Internships help students gain experience in their field of study. For employers, it's also a way to recruit. But since the pandemic, internship numbers have dropped, much like job openings. Career site Glassdoor found the number of internships this past May were 49% lower than a year ago. At Boeing, they onboarded about 500 fewer interns because of the pandemic, a majority of them virtual.
It just doesn't make sense to bring people into what might be, one, an unsafe environment, or just not the most optimal, engaging environment for them.
United Healthcare pivoted to virtual internships as well.
There is a time like no other for an intern to be part of this company and learn what we're actually doing to help solve the pandemic, to help make healthcare better for all of our members anyway. So let's give them that experience.
The DeBruce Foundation has been an early adopter of virtual internships. It has financed them and lately has created panels to help companies rethink virtual internships because they may be here to stay, even after the pandemic.
You have to put some energy and time into rethinking the technology access that individuals are going to have as interns. You have to rethink how you're going to recruit, and you have to rethink how you are going to orient, onboard, and then serve them and manage them.
The executive director of the DeBruce Foundation says one huge misconception companies have is that students will be less productive because they are working from home.
We have heard over and over again from all types of businesses that they have found the interns to be highly productive during this time. And they have found that the interns have actually even been a benefit to some of their other remote workers.
Quach will graduate this December without a job offer from Boeing.
I would love to join the Boeing company, but right now it's not a super great time. I know my team really did want to extend an offer for me, but due to the current situation with layoffs and downsizing, they couldn't. So it's always open for the future, especially when things get better.
For Newsy, I'm Kat Sandoval.
What are y'all doing for the holiday? I'm curious. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag #NewsyInTheLoop. On the list of to-dos for this year, we can check off the November general election, but we're not done with election season just yet. There are key election events actually set for December. Newsy's Stephanie Liebergen explains what they are and if they can change election results.
The November general election is weeks behind us, but some of the most important deadlines in selecting a new president come in December and January.
Some of the key milestones that happen between Election Day and Inauguration Day include the county level certification of results, the state level certification of results, and the actual Electoral College casting and transmission of those results to Congress.
Each state sets its own deadline for certifying the election results, and some states have no deadline at all. The process is designed to allow time for the lawsuits and recounts that we're seeing in 2020.
The electoral process is actually moving along quite normally. We've had these legal challenges that haven't added up to much, but the activities in every state are taking place as usual.
Federal law sets December 8th as the target date for all states to have their results finalized. It's called the safe harbor deadline.
That if a state has finalized their slate of electors, they've picked which candidate is going to get the Electoral College votes by December 8th, then Congress won't challenge those votes.
The next key milestone happens on December 14th. That's when electors in each state will meet in their respective capitals and formally cast their state's electoral votes. Those votes are transmitted to Washington, D.C., where the new Congress will vote to approve them on January 6th, 2021.
Is there anything that can happen between December 14th and January 6th that would change the result?
No, not really. Once the electors' votes are cast, they're actually signed and sealed and sent to Washington and not opened until they get to the floor of the House of Representatives, where the House and the Senate then open those ballots and have them counted.
Stephanie Liebergen, Newsy, Miami.
That wraps up our show. Again, thanks for watching In the Loop. I'm gonna prepare my sweet potato casserole and watch top stories from Newsy, which are headed your way right now.